A dream about my father chasing me through the fields with a pig sticker took an even more nightmarish turn, when he started emitting a rhythmic, high-pitched screech. Then I swam dazedly into wakefulness, to find an alarm sprite floating through the dormitory. Then I swam dizzily into full awakeness, to find an alarm sprite floating through the dormitory. It had to be an emergency. They didn't deploy alarm sprites lightly. It takes 2 fairly high-level mages to shut the damn things up. And I'd spent enough time at St. Gordon's Magical College to know that any emergency involving magic is something you want to get away from as fast as you can. After a minute of confused bustle, in which dressing gowns were thrown on and several sets of slippers thuttered their way downstairs, I and the rest of the second years followed the squealing ball of light into the entrance quad. The ear-molesting noise was immediately joined by the screams of several other alarm sprites, as the rest of the student body filed out into the pre-dawn gloom. That's when I knew something was really wrong. An alarm in itself wasn't that unusual, especially not in the second year dorm. After the entire first year learning theory and taking the mandatory psychological tests, students tended to be overly enthusiastic with their first firebolts. But a full evacuation of the entire student body, about 57 students, and 4 faculty members wasn't usually necessary. "Jim!" called Mr. Everwind, my tutor. Sweat was dripping from the brim of his pointy hat. "Line up the second years at the back." We were too rattled to do anything but obey, taking up position behind the third years. All the students had been arranged by year into a rather haphazard rectangle that didn't seem to have anything to do with the usual drill procedure. Suddenly, the sun began to rise, spilling orange dawn over the rolling green hills of the surrounding plains. I noticed that the horizon was a lot more textured than I remembered, and more bristling with siege weaponry. An army was advancing towards the school. Just as I had done on my first day, I deeply resented the fact that St. Gordon's Magical College was not, in fact, a castle. "Alright, chaps, settle down," said the headmaster, resplendent in a star-patterned cardigan as he strode back and forth in front of the student body. "Let me assure you all that there is absolutely no reason to panic." The rising tension was not eased in the slightest. "It's probably just some misunderstanding. Stop chewing, Haverson. But a Stroganovian army appears to be attacking the college. Now, don't worry. You're only here as a precaution. We have enlisted a former graduate, Ponyleaf the Enchanter, and his adventuring party to aid us. And I want you to show them the same respect you'd show me. Understand? I said spit that out, boy!" Ponyleaf was tall and thin, with a curly beard and the kind of rugged tan and fidgety nervousness that comes from a career adventuring through the gnoll and goblin-haunted wilderness. He stepped forward, separating himself from a bored-looking Lodian dwarf, and a poorly dressed Aneresian warrioress, who looked chilly in every sense of the word. "Good morning," he said with a cough, turning his staff over in his hands. A furious ongoing roar was slowly edging into earshot, punctuated by the clash of swords against shields. "Good morning, Mr. Ponyleaf." "Good morning, Mr. Ponyleaf," droned the bewildered student body dutifully. "Now what we're dealing with here is a loose alliance of student fighters from the warrior schools just over the border in Stroganoff. Obviously not much of a match for veteran adventurers like us. They're here because the King of Stroganoff has put out a quest to recover the Stone of Solomus that was left with this college by its founders hundreds of years ago. Now, obviously, we will never surrender the stone to such bully boy tactics. But I would ask that I and my fellow adventurers be allowed to look after the stone for its protection, and so that we can wave it at the enemy for purposes of psychological warfare." We don't have the stone," said the headmaster, as Ponyleaf met his gaze hopefully. "You what?" We've only been open 6 years. There's no such thing as the Stone of Solomus. The king's mad. Last year he made his son marry a koi pond." An awkward silence passed, or at least it would have been a silence, were it not for the increasingly loud war cry and wet thudding of booted feet upon the dewy morning grass, not to mention the subtle clinking of light armor, as the 2 other members of Ponyleaf's adventuring party attempted to shuffle towards the back gate unnoticed. "Can I be perfectly frank?" said Ponyleaf eventually. "We're kind of only doing this because we were hoping you'd let us have the stone as a reward." "Well, obviously it's not going to happen." No, I I see that. He looked behind him, and did a double take that was just a little too obvious. Sorry, it seems my colleagues have wandered off somewhere. I'm just going to see where they went, and come right back. Then he left, quickly. The frontmost rank of armored frat boys was now over the last hill, and had almost broken into a run. The ground was quivering in almost perfect synchronization with my stomach. Right then, said the headmaster, tight-lipped, eyes fixed on the fence over which Ponyboy had just vaulted. I know most of you didn't really expect to be practicing this level of combat magic this early in your career. But I think I can say that if I were an invading army, I'd certainly give pause for concern by such a formidable rank of enchanters as... God damn it, Harrison, I told you once before about... The vibrating right half of the arrow suddenly appeared in his temple. He concluded his sentence with a few spit bubbles before falling over. A large chunk of our defense force took this as the invitation to run away, but I didn't. Furious tears were forming in my eyes. I'd spent my last vegetable tray on tuition fees. Home was at least 5 turnips worth of journey away, and, more to the point, the last place I wanted to go. St. Gordon's might not be the most prestigious magic college in the world, and its graduates generally couldn't entertain any ambitions beyond running a pest control business, but it was all I had. The creaky wooden gates were pulverized into splinters under a whirling cloud of iron boots and training warhammers. I extended a hand and began to incant. Arcanus! And Furus! I don't actually remember if I was able to get a firebolt off. I have a vague memory of seeing orange light splatter harmlessly against a spiked breastplate, but that might have just been the sparks from all the metal rubbing against metal. Then there was a sound rather like a bag of wet laundry being hurled across a gravel driveway, and that was the first time I died. Everything seems a whole lot more peaceful when you're dead. Even watching your own pelvis being kicked around by the quad of golfing adolescent berserkers has something transcendental about it when you're looking down on it from about 6 feet up and ascending. Maybe it was the way everything was tinted a strange bluish gray, and seemed to be glowing with an eldritch light. As I continued to drift upwards, the world began to fade. The majestic sight of the warrior hordes, breaking all of St. Gordon's front windows, blurred, and not just from the distance. At the point of death, all sound has suddenly crashed into silence, as if I thrust my head into ice-cold water. But now, the quiet was somehow deepening. What I had previously accepted to be complete silence was a cacophony compared to what I wasn't hearing now. The land of the living was still there, barely. It had been reduced to a collection of dim shadows that were almost invisible against the cosmic brilliance of the beyond. What I remember most vividly of all is the light, bright as anything, and my ghostly eyes were wide open. But it didn't dazzle me. It wasn't just a light at the end of the tunnel, unless the tunnel was also made of light. It was everywhere, all around me, and I was a part of it. I was watching the light, and at the same time, I was the light watching me. I think I was still ascending, but it was becoming harder and harder to tell. The world was turning below me, reduced to little more than a faint smear against the light. I saw the college, the surrounding county, and the lands of Stroganoff toiling under the heel of demented monarchs. I saw the kingdom of Beauregard, where I had been born, along with all of its neighboring territories, their ancient borders and writhing battlegrounds, now made meaningless. I saw the entire continent of Garethy, 1,000 rural hues of brownish green and greenish brown spreading from ocean to ocean like rotting seaweed on a calm beach. I saw the entire planet, from the jungles of Anaresia to the urban sprawl of Lollied City. I saw the glittering sphere, hanging in the blackest darkness, and somewhere at the back of my mind, I realized that Flat World Forbisher owed me 20 quid. I could see it all, but I was still ascending. The world of my birth shrank from a planet to a moon to a beach ball to a pea to a grain of sand to... gone. Now there was nothing but the light, and a new sound was drifting through the stillness. A beautiful voice was calling me, singing songs of beckoning, and as the delicate tones passed my ears, I felt a giddy and instinctive state, of rapturous love. For just a few more songs, I would have done anything for that voice. I wouldn't have died for it, obviously. I was ahead of the game there. The light took form around me, breaking off bits of itself, like clay, and reshaping them into... what else could they have been? Angels. Their blank, featureless faces were strangely beautiful, shining with a golden inner light. They took my spectral arms, holding them ever so gently, and aided my ascent. Their every touch, every movement, every sound they breathed into my ears, all communicated the same thing: love, undying and all-powerful. I passed on from life, from the world of struggles and hardships and big fat women with annoying laughs, and entered a glorious new existence of utter peace and joy and love. And then some git brought me back to life.